one of you.
I want you to deal with your problems by becoming rich.
This is my home. They're gonna need a wrecking ball to take me out of here.
Good timing, everybody, whether it's morning, evening, or anywhere in between. Welcome to unRekt Traders. Today we're going to take a look at Ontology, ONT, and we are currently on the monthly, looking at the machine. And the machine's actually played it really nicely on Ontology. Kind of wish I was looking at it earlier than today, but I did take a look at it today because it's the Nexus, but we'll get into the Nexus after this. But we do have the 50 quasi, which is aqua here, coming up into the range. As it came up into the range, we had the sideways moment here, and then we actually did come up into and hit the mean reversion almost perfectly before coming back down to the 10. So we can see that the 10 was quite high with the 20 extremely high. If we look back in the past, we've only had the 10 and 20 kind of get up that high over here. Each time it's pretty much come down. So when the 20 and 10 did come into the plus 100 area here, we had the mean reversion pretty well back to that 10. It hasn't quite hit it yet, and we are still looking for the 20 at the 24 cents. So whether it does come all the way down on the monthly, that's questionable. But as of right now, that 24-25 cent range is kind of our target. And then from there, we'll see if we can continue in that upward direction or continue in the downwards. But more or less, you know, we kind of, our Ontology pretty much is at rock bottom here. Let's face facts, like 15 cents was pretty much the low here. So we are in a pretty large capitulation. And if we do look at the monthly area, you know, we do have the high sitting at pretty well the $3 range. So even if we do come up from here, so we have taken out the liquidity at the 35 cent level, kind of came up, taking out liquidity up to that 50, and then coming down to the 10 for a retracement, and then we'd probably look for a continuation up to take out that 60-70 cent level, if not coming straight up into up here. Now we do have a nice imbalanced candle sitting all the way up to 90 cents, and so anywhere from 73 to 90. So in all reality, in Ontology, we'd really be looking at price coming up into here before a retracement, and then take out liquidity and coming up into this kind of candle up here. On the weekly, so on the weekly itself, again, that huge capitulation area. The 50 and 100s just starting to come. The 100s pretty well just starting to break the plus 100 area. So we would be looking at price coming back into at least to the 50 here at 24 cents, if not to the 100 at 23.36. Now the 10 itself is pretty low right now. So eventually we're on the weekly here. So we would expect price to possibly track down a little bit further, probably to the shelf level at 26 cents. And then look at the 10 to pop back up, and then we'll more than likely find resistance at that 20 or the top of this 100 or 50. So a little further down and then come back up to continue to that downward direction to that 23, and then we'll see from there where it wants to go depending on what Bitcoin wants to do as well. 3-day, again, pretty much really all the same thing for the most part. The 200 purple here is just at the top of the plus 100 range, acting as a support / resistance. And the 10 is lower, not too low, but it looks like it's kind of leveling off, so it may pop back up. But pretty much, you know, it's pretty much exactly the same thing. 24 cent level with the possibility of moving back up to break through resistance, likely getting stuck out at this 20.10, maybe the top of this 50, before continuing to that downward direction to the 23 cents. On the daily, likely find support at the 200 here, maybe to the 100, 26, before this starts to pop back up, and then return to the 34, 35. I don't really know if there's any point of going any lower, because we're kind of seeing the same thing on all things. 4 hour is in trend to that downward direction. We've been following this 10 line for the most part, basically from the time it crossed over here, and then we did have that pop up to the 50, which we were somewhat expecting from this, but we have been in that downward trend on pretty well everything for the most part. The 200 was somewhat holding us, but even that has broken into trend to that downward direction, and everything is kind of heating up here. So as things heat up, I would expect a continuation of that downward direction, and then as of right now on that 4 hour, we're looking at the 3.2 at 26 26.9. But again, same thing. I would look for at least a pop up to this 30 cents, if not up to 31, just because of where the levels are in the higher time frames. But we could see that 26, 20, 24, and then that pop and continuation to that downward direction to 23. Coming into the Nexus, which is kind of what I wanted to show the most. So in the Nexus here on the higher time frames, we'll just take a quick look at that one first, just because we haven't looked at Ontology yet, on YouTube anyway. And, last year's yearly played it really nicely, pretty much right to that pivot before staying into the downward trend of capitulation. With the new yearly, we did open up below it, and we shot right back up to the pivot to the previous year high. We didn't cross the previous year high, and then started to go bearish again. However, we didn't hit the yearly S1 or the previous year low before coming back into that range, and then we saw that pop up to the yearly R2 almost perfectly. And again, now we're showing that bearishness one more time. Now the nice thing is that we do have, we technically have the support here, but this is our real shelf here at 20 cents, previous quarterly low at the 20 cents right here, or the yearly S1 at 19. So I would almost expect price to kind of come into this range. On this quarterly, we were looking for bullish continuation. We've gone bearish twice now, more of fake outs than anything, just taking liquidity on either side, and now we are continuing to that downward direction again, and likelihood try to take liquidity here at that 21 cent level. So more than likely down to this 19 to try and get all this liquidity before continuing in that upward direction. Now whether we come to this 15 is questionable, but again, there's also that huge amount of liquidity. But again, this was capitulation, so do we come back to this level? It's questionable, but I could see a run on this 20 cent level. Let's take a look at the monthly and then the weekly. I'm just going to turn off the daily for now and go to a smaller time frame so we can see it a bit better. So on the monthly itself, again, this month was pretty chaotic. Would have been tough to trade on the Nexus. And then, but if we do look here, this previous month did hold the support for continuation to that upward direction. Now on the monthly itself, we are looking for that continuation in the upward direction until this level broke. Now we opened up below it, we came in, we hit the target, continuing that downward direction, basically came up to that pivot, and then still continued to that bearish direction. Now the level we'd be looking for on the monthly would be that 25.42, previous month low. So again, taking out liquidity here or here. Now we've almost hit this level, but let's take out this liquidity here. Likelihood we come to that monthly S1 at 24.58. And then on the weekly itself, the weekly here is a naked weekly. And if we look at the weekly, we're in a ladder system to the downward direction. So we are bearish, looking for continuation of that downward side. However, this is naked. We do have some nice imbalances in here at the pivot perfectly. So we are currently more or less looking for a return of 13.8 to possible 17, let's just say. So there is that possible chance of price wanting to come up into here before that continuation to the previous month low. We are at the weekly S2, which is actually a really good sign for that continuation to, or for the price to reverse and kind of come back up, even if it's only 5%, before continuing to that downward direction. The probability of us moving up is pretty high, and depending on how greedy you want to be, there is the potential for that 13 to 17%, or even just a quick 5%, depending on what you're looking for. So that possibility is there, and then but we are currently kind of looking for that previous month low to the monthly S1. So this pop-up could happen this week, it might not happen this week. So everything is a risk, and you may win and you may lose it all. So all right, guys, that's all I got for Ontology. I hope you liked the analysis. If you want to see free indicators, the unRekt oscillator and overlay, you can join the Discord or come to the unRekt webpage and subscribe, and we'll get you some more information. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. God bless.
Visit unrekt.me and download our free powerful indicators. And join our community of traders in our Discord server and get full access to the Machine Suite Indicators, the Nexus Suite Indicators, and the Nexus Screener.